This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
I'm Teresa Woodard in Dallas, and here are your headlines from North Texas. A Dallas firefighter is recovering from injuries he suffered while battling a weekend house fire. This happened at a home in North Dallas Sunday. Investigators say flames were spreading through the attic of the two-story home when they arrived. It took them about 90 minutes to get the fire out. 2 adults and 2 children were inside. They did make it out safely, but Dallas Fire Rescue says a firefighter suffered a non-life-threatening injury to his lower legs. He had to be taken to a hospital, but he is expected to be okay. A teacher is out of a job, in jail, facing criminal charges. He's accused of sexual assault and having an improper relationship with a student in Crowley ISD. Ricardo Ortiz taught architecture at the Bill R. Johnson Career and Technical Education Center. The district sent a letter to families telling them that administrators cooperated with investigators, and Ortiz was immediately fired. It appears no other students were involved, but Crowley ISD is urging any parent with any information to contact police. The state takeover of Fort Worth ISD is moving forward after the district's appeal failed. Now the TEA is reviewing applications for a board of managers, which the agency will appoint likely this spring. A conservator has already been named. Last October, the state announced plans to take over the district after one campus received an unacceptable rating for the 5th straight year. The board does have a meeting scheduled Tuesday evening. Discussion of the takeover is expected to take place in closed session. On Wednesday, the city of Dallas is expected to vote on whether to give up majority control of the DART board. That's an effort to try to keep some suburbs from leaving the agency altogether. The proposal would give member cities a seat on the board and drop Dallas's share down to about 45%. Cities like Plano, Irving, Highland Park, and Farmers Branch all plan to let voters decide in May whether to even remain part of DART. To a story now that captured the attention of North Texans nearly 40 years ago. It involved a popular pastor, his mistress, and a violent assault on his wife. Her loved ones have not seen justice to this day. Here's Rebecca Lopez and her crime reporter's notebook.
These are the stories that keep me up at night. The missing, the murdered, the mysteries that have gone unsolved in our own backyards. I've covered crime in North Texas for more than 25 years, and now I'm opening up my reporter's notebook to you, revisiting cold cases and crimes that made headlines. This case really was like a soap opera. At the center of it all was the pastor of First United Methodist Church in Dallas, Walker Rayleigh.
How is it possible for all sorts of bad things to happen and good things to disappear, and yet we don't lose our hope?
It also involved his wife Peggy, who played the organ at the church, and a secret girlfriend who was hidden from the congregation. But everything changed the night that Peggy Rayleigh was found barely alive in their Lake Highlands garage. I went through the WFA archives through hours of old tapes and trial videos of the case of the Reverend Walker Rayleigh. I also talked to one of his former attorneys.
He was a famous minister. He was well loved. He was on his way to national prominence, and all of a sudden it just all blew up in his face.
On April 22nd, 1987, Peggy was found by her husband. It was just after midnight, and she'd been beaten, strangled, and left on the cold concrete. She was only 38 years old and a devoted mother of 2.
She was a very sweet, loving person who didn't deserve what happened to her.
Dallas police detectives and the media quickly turned their attention to the Reverend Walker Rayleigh.
A lot of people still think you attacked your wife. Did you attack your wife, sir?
I did not. I am totally innocent, and I have no comment.
Detectives discovered that Pastor Rayleigh had a secret he wanted to hide and a possible motive. On the night of Peggy's attack, he lied to her about where he was. He left her a voice message saying that he was at the SMU library.
If you want to, go ahead and lock the garage door, and I'll park out front. My concern is that you're the So I have to be attending to SMU at 12:30. I'll be in on it around 1.
But phone records later revealed he wasn't at SMU. He was with his mistress.
He wasn't at the library. He was where he wasn't supposed to be.
In July of 1987, Rayleigh appeared before a grand jury and took the Fifth Amendment 43 times. He chose not to answer any questions and also refused to talk to the Dallas Police Department.
Why won't you talk to the Dallas police if you're innocent?
I am totally innocent. I've made that clear.
Rayleigh insisted that he and his family had been receiving letters with death threats before the attack. But Dallas police and prosecutors believe that he wrote those letters himself.
One incessant excuse and lie after the other, well staged, well rehearsed.
Under pressure, Rayleigh resigned from the church in September of 1987. Meanwhile, Peggy Rayleigh was in a Tyler nursing facility, unable to walk, talk, or even eat by herself. Rayleigh moved to California with his lover, Lucy Papillon, and then filed for divorce. In August of 1992, DNA evidence emerged, and police had enough to arrest Rayleigh for the attempted murder of his wife.
Good morning. Morning.
His trial in March of 1993 was a circus. His lover, Lucy, was brought in to testify.
Dr. Papillon, are you and Walker Rayleigh still lovers? You still have a relationship?
I have no comment.
On the stand, Rayleigh was very emotional when he described how he found Peggy in the garage.
Put my hands on her shoulders and screamed at her, trying to get her to respond. And she didn't do anything. Her eyes were just glazed over.
He denied attacking his wife.
Walker, did you strangle Peggy?
No, I didn't.
Do you know who did?
No, I don't.
But prosecutors pushed back.
This is all your guilt. Is that right? This is guilt on you. You have not said one word, have you, Dr. Rayleigh, about your poor, injured, damaged, and almost dead wife, have you?
After 17 hours of deliberations, the jury came back
Not guilty.
and found Rayleigh not guilty.
Well, I feel relieved. I think I'll probably sleep tonight.
Rayleigh and Papillon ended up breaking up. Peggy Rayleigh sadly died in 2011. Her children grew up without her.
Total tragedy.
Dallas police couldn't find any other suspects, so the question remains, who attacked and ultimately killed Peggy Rayleigh?
I have sold the steer $550,000.
A new record set on the final day of the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Cayman Cody from Toller and his steer named White Castle won the rodeo's Grand Champion Steer Award and then broke the record for the highest bid in rodeo history. The previous record was set back in 2023 when someone bid $440,000 on a steer named Snoop Dogg.
This is the Super Bowl of Super Bowls for the cattle show. This is every kid's dream, to win the Fort Worth Stock Show.
Well, that was this year's winner. When asked about his future plans, Cayman said he wants to continue to build the cattle business and he hopes to get more kids involved in 4-H. Congratulations to him. Those are your headlines from North Texas.
In Austin, I'm Daranisha Heron. New work requirements are taking effect for Texans who get help buying food through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This comes after President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act was signed into law in July, expanding work requirements. KVUE's Brianna Perez explains the impact this could have.
We got the letter about 2 weeks ago, and it made us cry.
Austin SNAP recipients reeling as the deadline to meet work requirements closes in. Under these new federal rules, more adults without dependent children must work, participate in employment and training programs, or volunteer at least 80 hours per month to be eligible to receive SNAP benefits. Those who do not meet the requirements can receive benefits for only 3 months within a 3-year period. Recipients like Chevis Watson say it's a big change.
I'm working gig jobs right now, and I can't even work 20 hours a week with those gigs.
The previous requirements applied to adults up to age 54 who were physically and mentally able to work and did not have children under age 18 living with them. Now they apply to adults up to the age of 64, whose youngest kids are 14 or older. The new rules also eliminate work exemptions for people experiencing homelessness, veterans, and young adults aging out of foster care.
I don't think anyone argues against work. I think we all want people to work and earn enough money to not have to qualify for SNAP.
Celia Cole with Feeding Texas says food banks are doing everything they can to support Texans who can't meet these new requirements, but worries the impact it could have on resources. Meanwhile, recipients getting closer to the 3-month mark are feeling the pressure.
I'm picking up food that other folks don't want to eat. We're cooking with a mom over here and a mom back there. We're cooking so that we all eat together, just so we save money.
In Austin, Brianna Bettis, KVUE News.
The family of Seal Stewart, the final missing camper from Camp Mystic, has filed a lawsuit against the camp. The 8-year-old from Austin was among 27 campers and counselors killed when July 4th floodwaters swept through the camp. Seal is presumed to be dead, though her body has never been found. Her parents say her death was the result of failures by camp leaders. KVUE's Daniel Perot spoke with attorneys with that family.
As the Guadalupe River surged in the early morning hours of July 4th, Seal Stewart and the rest of the campers at Camp Mystic were asleep in their cabins.
What happened here wasn't an accident. It was a man-made problem.
In a 100-page lawsuit, the family of Seal Stewart argues Camp Mystic's leaders received multiple alerts of the increasing flood risk before and during the rainfall, but failed to act.
They didn't warn the girls. They didn't go on their loudspeakers and tell them what was happening. But they did go out and move their canoes to higher ground.
They say even as waters rose, camp leaders did not move campers to higher ground, telling them to stay put in their cabins until the water got so high they couldn't stay any longer.
Even at 3 a.m., there were still options for Seal. Never told her to leave. Instead, they told her to stay, and that's what killed her.
Around that time, the lawsuit alleges camp director Dick Eastland, who died in the flooding, decided to evacuate only the cabins closest to the river, but there was no evacuation plan.
They just improvised and made the plan up during the chaos, and that failure alone is what killed these girls.
Attorneys say the counselors in Seal's cabin evacuated the girls through submerged windows. Seal fell off of a floating mattress and made it to a tree with other girls, but she could not hold on and was swept away.
She was very, very, very close to surviving. But unfortunately, the Eastlands waited too long.
In a statement, a lawyer for Camp Mystic told KVUE they disagree with what they call misinformation in recent lawsuits about the camp and the Eastlands. But attorneys for the Stewarts say their pain was preventable.
Here he failed in his leadership, not just on July 4th, but in the years leading up to it. This was going to happen. It was just a matter of when.
Camp Mystic is planning to partially reopen this summer, something the Stewart family opposes because they don't want the Eastlands entrusted with any other campers.
You don't get a second chance when you kill 27 children. You just don't.
One point the Stewart family wanted to stress is that they believe the counselors were heroes that night because they disobeyed camp leaders to get girls to higher ground. As for this lawsuit, the Stewart family is suing for $1 million in damages and requesting a jury trial. And more affordable housing could be coming to Austin. The 6 locations stretch from North Austin to South Austin. KVUE's Daniel Gomez breaks down what these projects could mean for renters.
It took me a minute. It was quite high because I was renting just for myself. I was looking for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath.
Chad Hicks pays less than a quarter of his income to live in affordable housing in Austin, just close enough to where he works in Miller.
I don't have a car either, so that is helpful, extremely helpful.
More affordable units could be coming. City Council voted on a resolution to support 6 applications for state low-income housing credits.
Today's vote on item 36 is about affordable housing on site.
2 of the proposed developments are in Councilmember Zoe Kadri's district. One is off Philomena Street in Miller, across the way from an existing affordable housing complex. 80 units are expected there.
I'd say actually South Congress really no longer is a great benefit because it's not set up anymore for the neighborhood.
The other is in Martha Newman's backyard, around the corner on Nickerson Street and East Annie Street. That proposed site calls for 75 units.
We're very, very worried both about the traffic and about the parking.
The city says proposed site locations would better help set tenants up for success in Austin. Newman agrees there's a need for more affordable housing.
I understand very much why people think affordable housing close to Congress would be a good idea. There are a lot of people working on Congress who, in the shops and what have you, that probably are commuting in a very long distance.
According to the City of Austin Housing Department, the cost of the units will be determined by a person's income and the median family income, or MFI. As of fiscal year 2025, the median income for a four-person household is about $134,000. Daniel Gomez, KVUE News.
Housing projects that receive low-income tax credits must meet eligibility for at least 30 years after they open. The unsolved Sculpture Garden is bringing in the Lunar New Year with a family event. The gathering featured things like dance performances, scavenger hunts, and calligraphy workshops, all for free. There were also free health screenings as well. An organizer says Sunday's attractions are based around the New Year's animal, which can be found at the garden.
Both our craft and our community partner offering, a lot of it is horse theme. You may or may not know it's the year of the horse, and Umlauf himself have a sculpture in the garden called Young Horse that's made of bronze, and so a lot of our artwork is inspired by that.
They hold more family days like this one on the second Sunday of every month. Those are the headlines here in Austin. I'm Darenisha Heron.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Hello everyone, I'm KCEN Chief Meteorologist Matt Farrell with a look at your statewide forecast. For today, well, the story is basically going to be above average temperatures everywhere you look. Take a look. You can see on our forecast here, most of us in the upper 70s, 80s on the board for several locations across Texas. Now, you can see that cloud cover increasing for some locations like DFW, looking at Lubbock here, Waco, the same story. That's in advance of another storm system that's about to move through as we head into the day tomorrow, and even a little bit for a couple locations into Wednesday morning as well. But you see rain chances likely in several locations as we head through your Tuesday time frame. And you can see temperatures quite a bit cooler out to the west there. Amarillo topping out only around 55 for your Tuesday afternoon. That's going to slide across the state, and then by the time we get to Wednesday, I've actually got pretty pleasant weather basically statewide at that point. A couple areas again might be dealing with some lingering showers as we head through Wednesday morning, but for the most part the rain will be gone by then. Let's take a look here. Again, you can see that forecast showing that rain moving into parts of the big country, West Texas here as we head into Tuesday evening, transiting across the I-35 corridor there as we head into the overnight hours Tuesday night and into Wednesday. Potentially some stronger showers, maybe a couple of thunderstorms there for the Austin area as well, so be on the lookout for that. Again, stronger rain there. Again, we need the rain, so anywhere you see these oranges and reds starting to light up on our forecast, that's absolutely necessary because we're starting to fall behind in terms of rainfall. We're going to look at your drought monitor here in just a minute. Basically everything's gone though by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, and then we're going to fast forward towards the end of the week because I do have another rain chance in the forecast. Switching over to one of our long-range models here, looking all the way towards Friday and Saturday. We'll stop at the pre-dawn hours there before we get into Saturday, and this may be a better rain chance, more rainfall potentially here, higher totals as we head into the weekend than what we're expecting for that Tuesday to Wednesday time frame. Put this back in motion, and it's gone as we get into your Valentine's Day night. As we head into Saturday night there, you can see everything moves into East Texas and then eventually into Louisiana as well. So how much rain are we really talking? Well, with this first system, the one coming through tomorrow into Wednesday, really not a whole lot, maybe a tenth, maybe a quarter of an inch across the state. But by the time we get to the weekend, see that second system move through, we could be talking about rain totals for a half an inch to an inch along the I-35 corridor. East Texas there, looking at Tyler, potentially as much as an inch and a half to 2 inches of rain potentially over the course of both of these systems. This is not one of the systems. This is both of them included here as we head through the rest of the week. In terms of that, we absolutely do need this rainfall, because take a look at our drought monitor. This, of course, is updated every Thursday, so a couple of days old at this point, but showing as we headed towards the end of last week, parts of South Texas in that extreme drought, exceptional drought there for parts of the Trans-Pecos down towards Big Bend, and most of the state under at least some level of drought, including that abnormally dry condition. Again, that's not technically a drought status, but when you start to see that show up, of course, that is a problem. So everybody across the state dealing with some sort of drought condition here as we head through the last couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and take a look at your forecast here. We need the rainfall. We've got the chances. It's a couple of chances. Like to be able to say that in the course of a week. But as far as the temperatures, I mean, we've been enjoying some above average temperatures, some very spring-like weather the last several days, and that continues. You can see for West Texas, 70s for today, 60s there, again, behind that system as it moves through for Tuesday. And then by the time we get to Wednesday, starting to rebound, seeing that sun come back out again just a little bit. For Central Texas, Austin, Waco, 80s today, very warm, well above the averages for this time of the year. As we head towards Tuesday, more cloud cover. The rainfall keeps us in the 70s. And then the sun again starts to come back out on Wednesday. Lower 70s, middle 70s there, potentially for parts of the capital down there in Austin. For South Texas, again, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Laredo, back into the 80s by the time we get to Wednesday. Rain chances, unfortunately, for Tuesday, not as good for South Texas as they are for Central Texas and North and East Texas. And again, everywhere else you look, we're seeing those above average temperatures return by the time we get to Wednesday, including some near 90-degree heat for parts of the Rio Grande Valley.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from Houston. I'm Cheryl Mercedes. The family of a 17-year-old who was shot and killed during an attempted robbery is eager for answers. This happened Thursday, just before 5 p.m. at an apartment complex on Uvalde Road in the Cloverleaf area. Orgo Mana spoke to relatives and has the latest on the investigation.
The family of 17-year-old Jaden Ford can't believe he was shot and killed at these apartments yesterday. They want justice and more answers about what happened.
I feel like I've lost everything. Like I lost everything.
Teosha Davis is mourning the death of her son, 17-year-old Jaden Ford. It's something no parent can prepare for. How does that register?
It doesn't at all. Can't process it at all. Seems not real.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office says Ford was shot and killed yesterday afternoon during an attempted robbery at an apartment complex on Uvalde Road. Detectives say Ford was with a group of teens when a fight broke out, and then someone wearing a hoodie and a mask shot Ford while trying to rob him.
Somebody called him to meet them over there. And then the next thing he know, he got robbed. They took his necklace, they took shoes.
Witnesses telling authorities that the suspect and several other teens ran away from the scene. While investigators say robbery appears to be the motive for the shooting, loved ones still have a lot of questions.
Everybody has a different story. Stories are changing today from what they were yesterday. So it's just left us confused.
It's very scary.
This woman, who didn't want to show her face, lives at the apartments and saw all the commotion yesterday.
It was very, very loud. A lot of kids had masks on and hoodies. I did see the fight start to break out, but then they had ran off.
As the investigation continues, Ford's family is holding on to his memory.
Very loving, very sweet, very funny. goofball.
He was an avid basketball player and just graduated early from North Shore Senior High School. He planned on going to San Jacinto College to study welding.
I just want him to be remembered as he was a good, wonderful kid.
Now the focus is on catching his killer.
I wish I could have him back, and I want justice for him.
Detectives say a dark-colored car was seen leaving this area after the shooting, but it's unclear if the suspect was in that car. Anyone with any information should call the sheriff's office or Crime Stoppers. Reporting near Cloverleaf, Orca Manna, KHOU 11 News.
A family that died during the Hill Country flooding was recognized in a special way. Jeff and Amber Wilson and their son Shiloh were in Kerrville last year for a youth rodeo when their camper was swept away. Matt Doherty reports on the tribute held during the Humble Rodeo's opening ceremonies last week.
Because of the weather this weekend, we're told this could be the highest attendance the Humble Rodeo has ever seen. But there are 3 who won't be here this year. However, their memory is still very much alive.
Before we kick rodeo action off, we want to pay tribute to an amazing family.
The 79th Humble Rodeo began on a somber note tonight.
You see, the Kerrville floods took the lives of many amazing people, but 3 of them that were really close to us. We call them the Wilson 3.
Jeff, Amber, and Shiloh Wilson were killed on the 4th of July last year in the Hill Country floods. Jeff had been an auto collision teacher with the Humble Independent School District for more than 30 years.
A teacher at one of the high schools in Humble ISD and very involved in ag and FFA and this rodeo in itself. So his whole family was involved, so very meaningful to be able to give back to that tonight. Jeff and Amber's son, 10-year-old Shiloh, was a Texas regional champion and a third-generation cowboy. His nickname was Stingray.
When cowboys go to...
Tonight, his pony made its last trip around the arena with a riderless saddle strapped to its back, the boy's boots and spurs hanging from its sides. The saddle was Shiloh's. It was found once the floodwaters receded.
They do recognize the family that's here this evening. There is an amazing artwork that was painted by one of the high school art teachers in Humble ISD. And they're also giving a copy of that art to each family, and that will be here at every rodeo.
The families, the parents and siblings of the Wilson 3 stood at the front of the arena, remembering happier times with the ones they'd lost 7 months ago.
Love of his life.
Gone, yes, never forgotten.
How about a round of applause to the Wilson 3?
In Humble, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
Stray golf balls aren't just a nuisance. They can smash through glass, leaving a costly mess in their wake. A Houston family says they're facing an uphill battle trying to hold anyone responsible after their vehicle's windshield was shattered. After KHOU reported on this happening multiple times at Gus Wortham Golf Course, the owners and operators are now working on a solution. Troy Klass has the story.
After an errant golf shot smashed into the Maldonado family's van, they tried to get answers from the golf course as to who did it.
This is our main transport vehicle.
Isidro Maldonado and his wife trek their 3 kids around. His wife was driving with their baby alongside Wayside Drive outside of Gus Wortham Golf Course January 8th.
10 minutes later, I get a frantic call. She's crying. She's in distress. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? She's like, something hit the glass. Something hit the glass.
Maldonado says glass went flying into the front seat.
The ball had impacted like right up here in the middle, right? And left a good size hole.
His wife and baby in the back seat were not hurt. They called Houston police.
The police went to the party, and again, they said, oh yeah, we hit a ball into Wayside Drive. But this time they said, it hit a tree and it went down to the floor.
With the golfer denying hitting the car, according to the police report, the Maldonados say they had to pay for the windshield replacement out of pocket. In September, KHOU reported a man suing the golf course after a golf ball struck his windshield.
It would have went right through.
Hundreds of dollars later, Maldonado doesn't want to be made whole, but wants to protect others from accidents in the future.
We regularly go down Wayside Drive, all right? So to go pick up our kids, to go to the store, to visit family. So yeah, I'd like to see more safety.
I spoke with the Houston Golf Association president and CEO on the phone this evening, and she tells me that they are working with the city of Houston to install safety nets here along Wayside, which I'm told will be done sometime within the next 2 months. On the East End, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Cheryl Mercedes.
I'm Adriana Alexander. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. A routine afternoon outdoors turned into a terrifying ordeal for a Bell County family after their dog fell more than 30 feet into a well. Tonight, anchor Adrian Carbajal takes us to the frantic moments, the risky rescue, and the teamwork that brought Callie home safe.
Success! Garrett Curry was checking game cameras on a family property when something didn't feel right.
I heard some grass rustling and some scratching. I knew there was a well in the area that it had previously been covered, and so my first reaction was to call out to her, and I didn't see her come running or anything, so I immediately assumed the worst.
Curry says he grabbed a flashlight and looked down into the well where he spotted his 7-year-old dog, Callie. He called 911, and the Bell County Sheriff's Office Animal Control, deputies, and the Little River Fire Department responded. That's when Curry made a decision, despite his own fears.
Started crawling down, and normally I'm, afraid of heights and claustrophobic, so not a good combination. But I don't know. I just didn't think about it. I was like, well, I got to get down there and get her. If anybody's going to go down there, I'm happy to do it.
With the help of the fire department and their safety equipment, Curry was lowered about 30 feet into the well in a harness to retrieve Callie, and remarkably, she wasn't seriously hurt, just a small scratch near her eye. For Curry, the moment reinforced just how much Callie means to his family.
She's been a huge part of our family since April of 2020 when we adopted her, and she's been a huge part of mine and my wife's life since then. And she was in our wedding and everything, obviously in all of our family pictures, and she's a staple of our life. She goes everywhere with me.
Oh, that's so sweet. Curry says he's incredibly grateful for the first responders and the community support that helped bring Callie home. Well, big news for music fans in Central Texas. 2 global superstars are making a stop in Waco, a city that's putting itself on the map as a live music hotspot. Here's reporter Sydney Walker with more.
Jelly Roll just won 3 Grammys.
I thought it was so cool.
Yeah. Post Malone has been nominated 18 times.
I didn't think that, big names could come to Baylor.
Now they're coming to Waco.
Maybe after Post Malone, maybe other people will, other artists will join in.
Waco is making itself known as a concert city.
There's live music here all the time.
Jason Cook with Baylor said Waco isn't a stranger to music, but they got a recent boost.
For all intents and purposes, it really put Waco on the map in terms of big live music stadium shows.
The Boys from Oklahoma concert at McLean drew in 37,000 fans.
Lots of people in the industry knew that we were open for concerts of that caliber.
Now they're hosting 2 global superstars, a dream Cook says they had when building McLean a decade ago.
It's like a Rubik's Cube because you're trying to figure out what your availabilities are, what you can afford, where artists are, what would be a good fit.
Good for Baylor, good for the city, and great for local artists.
A pipeline of opportunity for Waco-based artists as well as fans.
Fiona Bond with Creative Waco said it's proof of what she's always known.
People told me, oh, it's great, you're so close to Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, you can go and see really great things in all of those places. And my response has always been no. The advantage is that those people get to come to Waco.
Whether you're on your first album or 3rd Grammy.
The stadium, the pavilion, the backyard, all of our music venues are, yes, presenting local, but also they're presenting people who have global credentials.
And Cook said their hope is to eventually have 1 or even 2 big shows at McLean a year, plus several shows a year over at Foster Pavilion. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hello and welcome to your East Texas Headlines. I'm Jimmy Searfoss. The city of Kilgore is moving forward in a big way with new projects, updated facilities, and strong economic growth. The city's annual video highlights ongoing work, including road resurfacing, replacement of the 1960s Central Fire Station, a new public works facility, and economic development initiatives like Synergy Park and the repurposed Laird Hospital site, all designed to benefit residents now in the years ahead. Well, firefighters across East Texas had their hands full at the end of last week. Bone-dry conditions mean it didn't take much to start a spark or a careless move to start a fast-moving fire around here. Smith County crews responded to multiple calls, staying on high alert as drought conditions drag on.
Of course, the weather's been beautiful. Everyone's like, oh, let's get outside and burn this brush pile. And then with the winds comes in, it just takes off. And then the next thing we have an out of control burn.
Well, officials are asking folks to use caution with outdoor burning, fire pits, and any activities that could create sparks. Nikki Simmons with Smith County Emergency Service District 2 says staying fire aware during these conditions can help prevent dangerous brush fires.
What we want everyone to understand is that while we're not under a burn ban, we are in high fire danger. So we have a low humidity with a lot of growth on the ground, meaning we have a lot of dead grass and sticks and brush and leaves and twigs, all of the things that can just very easily take off. So it's really just not the time to do any voluntary burning.
Officials say all fires reported at the end of the week have been contained. Well, Smith County is paying out more than $1 million after a lawsuit claimed former inmates were held beyond their release dates. The case, filed in 2023, involved over 100 people who said they were unreasonably detained, some for weeks after finishing their sentences. Court documents describe the delays as a violation of constitutional rights. The settlement covers inmates held past their release from July 2021 through December 2024. $1 million will go directly to the former inmates, the rest paying legal fees and case costs. CBS 19 has reached out to Smith County for comment. We have not heard back. Well, David Burks, a 59-year-old man from Livingston, has been arrested for allegedly having multiple digital files depicting child sexual abuse. According to the Livingston Police Department, they were tipped off about a man from a group called Predator Poachers, who said they communicated with the man online about meeting up with a child. The group gave all of their evidence to officers, and now Burks has been arrested and charged with possession of child porn. Well, those have been your East Texas headlines. I'm Jimmy Searfoss.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Vanessa Croy, and this is the news in San Antonio. Over the weekend, a deadly 24 hours on the tracks. In separate incidents, police say 2 people were struck and killed by trains. This was the scene around 10:30 Saturday night when police say a person was killed on the tracks near Southtown off the 200 block of Groveton. And Saturday, just before noon, a train hit and killed a person on the tracks off West Commerce and Salado Street. Police have not yet shared any information about the victims. Flames ripped through a house just a block away from the Alamo Dome. San Antonio fire crews were called out just after midnight Saturday night to the 900 block of Wyoming Street. That's where they found heavy flames shooting out from the front of that house. Officials say crews were able to get the fire under control within minutes of arriving. The house did suffer heavy damage, but thankfully no one was hurt. The cause, though, is still under investigation. We're learning more after a call for a suspicious person quickly turned into a manhunt for a suspect who was wanted in a stabbing on the Northeast Side. Investigators say 26-year-old Mark Anthony Leslie stabbed a 56-year-old woman multiple times. It happened back on January 31st. Police say then he took off running, but he didn't get too far. They say a North Safe officer heard the call near Nacogdoches Road and jumped into action. Officers searched the area and spotted Leslie hiding in a ditch nearby. The victim was rushed to the hospital, but no word on how she's doing today. Police say the investigation into what led up to the stabbing is still underway. An anonymous tip leads to the arrest of a woman wanted in an armed robbery at a West Side shoe store. So we first told you about the wanted suspects last week after Crime Stoppers sent out this alert hoping to find the 2 suspects. Well, a few days later, 34-year-old Liana Hernandez was arrested and charged in the crime. It happened on January 30th at the WSS shoe store off West Commerce Street. According to an arrest warrant, Hernandez and the other suspect shoplifted items from the store and then tried to take off. And when they tried to leave, police say they pulled a gun on the employee who tried to stop them. The employee says he was in fear for his life. Hernandez is now facing an aggravated robbery charge. At last check, police are still searching for the man wanted in this case. A driver is dead after a fiery high-speed crash on the north side early Saturday morning. It happened around 3 a.m. off 281 near Thousand Oaks. Officers were called out there for a major crash, and witnesses say the driver was seen speeding before losing control and slamming into a tree. Police say the car immediately caught fire. The driver was rushed to the hospital where he later died. The crash remains under investigation. A routine traffic stop quickly turned into a foot chase on the northwest side Wednesday morning. According to Texas DPS, a trooper pulled over a white Chevy pickup around 10 a.m. off Loop 410 near Blanco Road. Officials say the driver, 39-year-old Jorge Carranza, pulled over but didn't stick around. DPS says Carranza and another passenger took off running, leading troopers through traffic and a nearby shopping area. They refused commands to stop and had to use a taser to take him into custody. He was rushed to the hospital for treatment and now faces an evading arrest charge. DPS says the second suspect is still on the run and one other passenger stayed in the truck. Troopers say ICE agents were also on scene. We reached out to HSI officials for more information and they referred us back to DPS. A San Antonio family still in shock after police say their loved one was hit and killed in a parking lot north of downtown. The family tells us the man behind the wheel was his own brother-in-law. KENS 5 reporter Mike Jimenez shares their story.
The family of Brian Brown says what started out as a birthday celebration ended in a family tragedy.
This was just something that wasn't supposed to happen, something that shouldn't have happened.
February 7th, 2026 would have been Brian Brown's 38th birthday. But Saturday afternoon, his family gathered at the area where his life was cut short.
We were having a surprise party for him. Happy heavenly birthday, mijo, I love you.
Lucinda Gonzalez, Brian's aunt, says they celebrated a week early on February 1st because Brown's daughter was going to be in a quinceañera on his actual birthday. Police say Brown and his aunt's husband, Xavier Baca, were walking in a parking lot near San Pedro Avenue and West Laurel Street when a fight broke out with Brown's brother-in-law, 36-year-old Jonathan Perez. Perez then left, got in his car, and sped out of the parking lot, hitting Brown and Baca.
We were trying to control, and it just got out of control.
Perez then took off without stopping to help, but police were quickly able to track him down nearby and was found to be intoxicated. Brown was pronounced dead at the scene, and Baca was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but survived. Brown's family says he and his brother-in-law were close and hung out together every day. Now the grieving family says they just want to lay Brown to rest and leave everything in God's hands.
He loved his brother-in-law, and he would want our family to be, peaceful with everything.
And Perez is now facing charges of intoxication manslaughter, intoxication assault, collision involving single bodily injury, and collision involving death. Mike Jimenez, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Nick Canizales. A teen is dead after he was hit by a truck and Vidor. Police say the crash happened along North Main Street. Now, police say that driver stopped and is not facing any charges. Officers say they found the boy unresponsive and not breathing. A justice of the peace pronounced him dead at the scene and ordered an autopsy. Investigators say they're not releasing his name because of his age. Now, the tragedy left the Vidor community in shock, and now one Vidor woman has taken action by turning her own loss into purpose. Tabitha Pitts is working to keep others safe by reminding them of a city ordinance meant to prevent crashes like this. Now, you must wear a reflective vest while walking at night. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato spoke to the Vidor Police Department, who says this rule has been in place since 2020.
There's so many people that's been
hit and killed recently.
For many in the Vider community, the loss is deeply personal. Tabitha Pips knows that pain all too well. Her father was struck and killed by a car when she was young.
My daddy, Terry Fuller, Connie Bozeman, Rosie Lambert, J.D. Stanley, Zach Marshall. These are all just a few of the people that have been struck here in Vider.
Now Pips is taking action, collecting and purchasing reflective vests to give away to people who walk along Vider roadways.
I started asking my people to give me vests, and I collected a few, and then I bought some. You know, that way we could give them out. And then today is when this happened, I was like, we got to get these out here right now.
Pips hopes her effort makes a difference. She's now partnering with local churches and businesses to help distribute the vests across town.
A lot of people don't have a vest, and it is a city ordinance.
That ordinance has been in place since 2020. It requires pedestrians walking along roadways to wear reflective material, starting 30 minutes after dusk until 30 minutes after dawn.
Anybody who's walking down the roadway needs to wear, doesn't necessarily have to be a vest, it could be clothing, but something of a reflective nature that reflects up to 100 feet.
Police say the ordinance was passed after repeated incidents with drivers not seeing pedestrians. Chief Rodney Johnson with the Vider Police Department says they want pedestrians to stay alert.
You want to walk to as far left to the road as possible, so up to the curb if there's a curb, if not, to the far left of the road as possible. That way you can see the oncoming traffic.
For Pips, this effort is not about enforcement, it's about making sure no other family has to experience the loss she lives with every day.
Wanted to, try to help my people and not have to live with the pain that I have to live with.
And that was Spencer Plato reporting. More vests will also be available at the Love and Truth Center in Vider. They'll be distributed to more residents, helping make sure that more people are safe. Well, Beaumont City Manager Kenneth Williams has announced he's retiring. Williams informed Mayor Roy West that he plans to step down after more than 3 years in the role. Williams began his tenure as Beaumont City Manager back in September of 2022. In a 12 News exclusive interview, Williams says that his decision to retire comes from a desire to spend more time with family.
It's time for me now to enjoy my family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and be able to do some things with them. Some things that my wife and I had planned to do before now, and I put off, and she put off for me, and I thank her for that. 99.
According to the city, Williams' last day will be April 30th. Now, he has agreed to remain in the role beyond the required 30-day notice as the city begins the search for a new city manager. Mayor Roy West praised Williams' leadership in a video on Facebook. Also in Beaumont, developer Tom Flanagan will be in court on May 6 for misdemeanor violations that is related to the conditions of the Gilbert building. These violations date back to 2020 and are tied to Gilbert LLC owned by Flanagan. According to certified court records obtained by 12 News, Flanagan was convicted in November of 2025 for exterior structure door violations. He was also fined more than $7,000. Now, he actually appealed that ruling. Prosecutors also confirmed that no evidence related to the fire from 2024 has been turned over yet. Well, Mardi Gras on the Sabine was back in Orange for a night filled of fun, live music, and Cajun food, and also a parade. Festivities kicked off at the Riverfront Boardwalk and Pavilion right on the banks of the Sabine River, with the second line march of a New Orleans-style tradition where you wave handkerchiefs and strut with umbrellas straight into the Crew to Crew of Kids parade. We spoke to crew members that say the event is their favorite time of the year.
The whole Mardi Gras parade is Disney or children's stories, and we picked Lilo and Stitch because kids like Lilo and Stitch, and the parade is all about the kids. We love that, where it's all about family for us. This is my daughter, these are my grandkids.
After the parade, live music took center stage with Four Horses and Wayne Toops bringing his signature Zyda Cajun sound. And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening in South Texas. It is the end of an era in Corpus Christi. Hurricane Alley Water Park, a favorite destination for families, is closing after 15 years. Generations of visitors have come to enjoy the wave pools, water slides, and summer fun. making it a staple of the coastal Bend community. The family-owned company Behind the Park says this decision comes as downtown Corpus Christi goes through a transition period, and they felt it was the right time to close this chapter.
There have been countless birthdays, family gatherings, all of these great gathering events that people get to share together, and I think that's what makes Corpus Christi love Hurricane Alley so much. And we are definitely sad to be ending this chapter, but in the end it was not made lightly. We've really been looking at the big picture of Corpus Christi and also Joel Properties and our long-term goals as well. And this was just a natural step to take a pause with the Harbor Bridge coming down and see what really we need to move forward and continue to make Corpus a better place to live.
And it's not just Hurricane Alley saying goodbye. Blue Frog Mercantile, a local boutique on Alameda Street, is also closing after 20 years serving the Corpus Christi local shopping scene. And the South Texas Trail Riders are back for their 67th annual Ride to San Antonio, heading to the stock show and rodeo. For most, this is a time-honored tradition, but for one family, this year's ride holds a very special meaning. Our Lydia Herrera has their story.
The Trail Riders have been riding from South Texas to San Antonio for generations. One family has been riding for over 50 years, and this year, they're riding to honor someone special. A New Yorker turned cowboy, Pat Dottie, inspired all around him. His granddaughter, Ariana Mushikemba, says his love for South Texas Trail Riders was contagious.
We always joke that there was going on the ride, and then there was getting ready for the ride for him. The moment the ride ended, it was planning for the next one, and this was what he loved the most.
Pat passed away during last year's trail ride.
We were in Beeville. I woke up that morning and got the news. As a family, we talked about it. Everyone was willing to come and get me and go home, but we decided the most important thing was to finish the ride for him.
His daughter, Jody Dottie, says her dad's legacy continues with the next generation and his wagon.
It's some of their best memories with my father. He taught them how to drive the wagon. He'd dance in the wagon. He'd tell little stories. But we knew that this was going to be a time of the year that we always spent, the kids got to spend with him, and where they really got to know him. Say how much we love you and miss you.
Inspired by his favorite Western movie, Lonesome Dove, Pat had a final wish for his family.
So we are taking him. We have his ashes that we're going to slowly take with us down the road. Just like in Lonesome Dove, he wanted to be the place that he loved the most.
Barry Davis, with her sister station in San Antonio, rode along with Pat on his last ride in 2024 and asked him if anything will ever stop him from riding. Pat's response was,
I don't know, probably until they throw dirt on my face.
For Pat's family, they'll continue to honor him with the tradition he started.
Honor him in that way, and I appreciate it so much that he really chose to kind of raise me in that way to where when he was gone, I can still do all of this.
Lydia Herrera, 3 News.
And that is a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.